So, hey everyone, this is Crystal Bean. Welcome to the Crystal Bean Experience. Today I have my co-host Kimmy Marshall with the Unleashed podcast. So I'm so excited for you guys to join us. Today we're going to talk about awareness, self-awareness in particularly. I mean, I just think that it's so important to have self-awareness to know where you're going and to know where you're at. And that's important because we want to make sure that you meet yourself where you are. That's the most important thing. So, Kim, I'm going to hand it over to you. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining. Crystal, you hit it dead on the head. Self awareness is a great starting point for everyone. And unfortunately, everyone doesn't always have the same definition of self awareness. So I'd like to tell everyone to just start thinking about where you are.
Yes.
Identify how you feel about where you are, and that starts
Yeah.
introducing yourself to what it means to be self-aware, and that can be in any aspect of your life.
Yeah.
I like to give
Yeah.
experiences, and I would say self-awareness for me started with just the small things, mental notes of positivity and different
Yeah.
things like that. So I was aware that there's power in the tongue, and
Yeah.
what you say,
Oh,
the
girl.
tongue, yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. It's scary, right?
absolutely. Right, right. So, just a small challenge yourself in the way of just saying, hey, where am I today? How am I going to start off? And what kind of beautiful affirmations can I give myself to get
Mhm.
through
Mhm.
this day and start little?
Yeah.
Small things lead to big changes. So
Yes,
it's
I
okay
do.
to start little.
But you know what though? Sometimes people don't even know that you do have to be, self-aware. I think self-awareness is very important, and I'm gonna tell you why it's self-important because it measures where you're at in your, I would say, mindfulness, right? And that's a whole nother
Mhm.
subject. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, let's start journaling, and that's something that you touched on. Journaling. How did I feel today? How did I react to these emotions? Because every reaction doesn't need that high-pitched emotion, and the high-pitched emotions is going from 0 to 100. But here's the
Yes.
thing, recognizing when I would say when a traumatic event happens, when someone does something, it's how you react to it, your awareness. And then it's also recognizing when you're wrong. Being self-aware says, I screwed up. I messed up.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
taking that ownership. Ownership is important to any type of healing, any type of I would say realness, right? If you
Mhm.
screw up on something, own it. And that's you saying,
Yeah.
you know what, I didn't handle that correctly. You know what I'm saying? I didn't do
Own
that
it.
right.
Own
Go
it. My
back,
grandma used to
apologize.
say, yeah, stand in your stuff. Stand in your stuff.
Oh,
So
your grandma was wise, girl. Your grandma was
yeah.
wise, girl.
Stand in your stuff. If you did something wrong, you have to stand in it. And then there was my mom would ask me sometimes, she'd be like, what were you thinking when you did that? So I've learned to
Mhm.
ask myself that, as time goes on, when you do make a mistake, what was I thinking that led to that mistake? Was it
Yeah.
impulsive? Was it
Yeah.
emotional? Was
Yeah.
it
But you
reactional?
know what? Mhm. But most people make
Absolutely.
those mistakes out of fear. And something I was doing something. I was at a conference at work one time, and one of the ladies talked about some of the mistakes that she made was out of fear. Sometimes when you make some mistakes, it's out of pure fearness. You're afraid.
Hmm.
You could be afraid of transition. You could be afraid of change, and that's sometimes
Absolutely.
when people make the most mistakes. You know, and
Yeah.
it's how you
And
get through and transitioning through those mistakes and
absolutely.
those
Crystal,
moments and
you
events.
you you use the word, you said change. And
Change.
sometimes change it
Scary.
sparks fear. But
Yeah.
knowing that you have to change, that is also going back to the first part of being self-aware.
Yes.
Sometimes we have to learn how to embrace change, whether it's a
Yeah.
positive, whether it's going to be removing something or someone,
Mhm.
from the atmosphere. All of that
Yes.
deals with you being aware of where you're headed, where you're going, where you've
Yes.
been before. All those things are
Yeah.
important when you start going down your self awareness journey,
But
and
it,
be
it,
okay
that-
with the fact that it doesn't happen overnight. Small steps,
it
you know.
right. One of the small steps that I tell people when I'm talking to people is that, do some type of seek feedback, and it's okay to seek feedback from trusted friends, family members, mentors, honest feedback. But you have to be okay with hearing something that you wasn't ready to hear. So when you ask
Mm-hmm.
for the feedback, just be okay, because they may say something that you don't like, but you have to
Yes.
respect what they're saying, because you're not going to always like what someone has to say. For example, they may hit on your strengths, your weaknesses, your blind spots, and blind spots are important because you may not recognize that you even had blind spots.
You
And
don't
most
know they're
people,
there.
no, you don't know they're there. So that's why it's important to seek that feedback. One of the things we talk about is positive active listening. Pay close attention to what they're saying. Try to understand a different perspective, because there could be two things. You could be thinking negative and positive. So your reaction to
Hmm.
it may be totally different because you're not paying attention. You're not actively listening. And then we talk
Yeah.
about those emotional intelligence exercises, mindful eating, mind, body, and soul. What you eat, comes through your gut health, and your gut health affects your mental health. So those type of
Hmm.
things that might trigger that, right? And then
Yeah.
there's also exploring your values, practicing self-acceptance, engaging in self-care. Self-care is very important because that's your, again, mind, body, and soul, right? So you may have to wake up in
Absolutely.
the morning and meditate. You may have to read books of personal development. You may not know where you're going. And if you don't know where you're
Hmm.
going, that's when you want to seek, extra help, because you may just not know. And those books may be
Yes.
able to provide value, podcasts, books, friends, things that you're reading, articles, things like that.
Absolutely.
So
And you've
that's
dropped
why
some
that's really important.
really good nuggets on there. You mentioned changed involving others, which means not only are you learning to be self aware, you're also learning to be aware of your environment. And when you
Yes.
start to
Yes.
involve others, you start to understand and really look at what your support network looks like or does not
Hmm.
look like. And you
Oh,
start finding out, yeah, does
you
not look
touched the
like.
point.
eh,
You touched the point.
Yes, yes, and you start finding out too, what you are aligning yourself with, and how your environment is either feeding into that from a
Yes.
supportive communication standpoint, or
Yes.
you're going to have those people who are in your life and they say things that don't really align with your goals. You mentioned learning how to accept or respect what someone
Yes.
says and keep going.
Yes.
Keep
Right.
going. Your goals
Yes.
are your goals. So
But one
just
thing I
because someone does not agree does not mean that you're on the wrong
right.
path. You just have
Right.
to enter a mutual section of respect and keep it
Yes.
moving forward. Learn how to thank you for that
Hmm.
feedback. I'll take it into consideration as we move
But you don't have
forward,
to take
but
it.
don't let it stop you. Yeah.
Yes.
But
Yes.
you mentioned meditating as well. That is a
Yes.
good time to get centered with yourself. It's a good
Hmm.
time for you to release some of the
Yes.
things that may have affected you in a negative way that day and
Yeah.
replace that with positivity. So, all
Yeah.
of those things are going to be a part of the self awareness journey. And all of them are vital pieces of the self awareness journey. Don't leave
Yeah.
anything out. Journaling to get
Yeah.
back to that. Sometimes
Yeah.
people don't know where to start. I have, a page
Well, hold on a
that I
second.
like to use. I've got my white notebook and I'm
Yes,
always,
y'all. Kimmy has
got
it.
my notes on my white notepad because it helps me put some structure to my day. It helps me put some
Hmm.
structure to my thoughts, my plans, my goals. Where am I? And sometimes to read that and see where I
Yes.
started 2 weeks ago shows progress. And in
Yes.
self-awareness journey, you have to have some type of way to know if your progress is aligned with
Measure.
where you're going. Yeah,
Yeah,
measurable.
you gotta definitely measure that. You can't just start it. Well, first of all, you can just start it because you'll get better over time, and that's okay.
Hmm.
What we don't want to do is tell people not to start because you need a plan. The plan
Yes.
goes out the window, right? Because everybody
Yes.
is not perfect. You can have a plan to go this way, but you go to the left. You might go to the right, and that's okay too. But
Modify,
uh,
change,
right,
pivot.
right. But one thing that you talked about, which was very, very important, is that respecting someone's different, like, how do I say this? Respecting someone that doesn't agree or align with your vision,
Different
and that's okay
opinions.
too. But here's the thing, it's okay to have a mentor and talk to somebody about what you're going through. And hey, here's the thing, their vision may not align with your vision, but guess what? It doesn't have to. You may respect what they're saying, but you don't have to listen to it. You may take it
And
into
and it
consideration,
and
but everybody's not going to align with you, and that's
yeah.
okay too. But don't get
Mhm.
offended because somebody doesn't align with you. For example, you guys, I also do life coaching and motivational speaking and stuff like that. But I was talking to one of my
Absolutely.
really good friends that I respect. that is a therapist, and she doesn't agree with life coaching because she says that therapists been doing that for years, so they don't really respect life coaches. Now, I didn't get an attitude that she said that. She is a professional. That her view of life coaching is not a reflection of me. That's something that I
Absolutely. And
do.
it's not
So
going to
that even
stop you.
no, and it's not going to stop me and stop my
Right.
success and stop the way I feel about life coaching, because although I may not be a clinical therapist, I do help people in what they're going through as far as like rebuilding self-esteem. So when she said that, I didn't flinch. And the reason why I didn't flinch because I'm confident
Mm-hmm.
with Crystal. I'm confident and I
Yes.
see my vision for myself and I see the outcome of people when I help them with self-esteem and confidence building and stuff like that. That's her issue. It ain't my issue. So be
Right.
careful how you receive the information.
Information.
You hear the
Mm-hmm.
information, but receiving the information is a little bit different because that may have a different effect on you. Now, she could have said it to me, and I'm like, oh my God, I could have felt some type of way, but I didn't because that's her issue. That ain't my issue. And so be careful in the issues that you decide to take on. How about that?
Absolutely. And then be
Okay.
careful with your friends on the side, because when you said it, I know how amazing your life coaching is. So
Thank
I
you.
felt some kind of way. I
Oh,
was like, what? No, no,
yeah.
she didn't say that. But
Yeah.
from a positive standpoint, you said mentorship. You
Yeah.
do need some type of mentorship. And then your mentors, they are merely sharing what worked for them, what they've
Yes.
seen over the years. So you're supposed to be able to take bits and pieces of that information and help build your portfolio into something amazing, into your
Yeah.
own lineup. And all of it, like you said, she's well respected in her
Yep.
career path,
Yep.
and you guys still had an amazing and respectable conversation, and you didn't
Yes, we
have to
did.
agree with everything, and you guys are still able to come back to the table and continue to talk and grow in whatever relationship that is. So that's one of the things that, I had to learn, that people
Mhm.
see the world through different lenses all the
Yes,
time.
they do.
My
Yes.
business mentor didn't look like my real estate mentor, didn't look
Yes.
like my amazing crystal life coach mentor, didn't look like all those things came into different, you know, perspectives. The real estate
Yeah.
mentor helped me sell real estate. He didn't
Yes.
help me invest. The
Yes.
person behind the money helped me learn how to invest. So there are
Okay.
different aspects of mentorship that you're going
Absolutely.
to learn about throughout your self-awareness journey. And
Well,
then
let's talk about the
just when
goals
you
of it
think you
though.
got it all figured out, it's going to go
Yeah.
to another elevation level,
Yes, it
and you're going
does.
to
And we talked
need
about
some
that.
yeah, so the learning never stops. The mentorship
No.
never
No.
stops.
Yeah. So let's go back to tasks because that's something that we touched about earlier as far as like you writing things down. So journaling, and we're writing short and long-term goals. And one of the things as far as self-awareness journey is that we're all not going to start at the same point, just like we're all not going
Yeah,
to finish at the same point either, right? And so don't measure yourself against somebody else's story versus yours. Understand your
absolutely.
story. Understanding your story is so profound. And the reason why I say
Hmm.
that is because everybody's starting point is different. You don't know my history. You don't know Kim's history. You don't know somebody else's history. It's like, damn, how did she get like that? She's so aware of what's going on. You don't know the pain that I went through to get there. You don't know.
Absolutely.
I've
And
been talked
you
about.
don't know from
You
behind the
have
screen if I really have
no.
it together. You don't know if I really
Yeah.
have it together. Because
No.
some people start putting the information, the experiences out,
Yeah.
to as a therapy method sometimes for themselves. And this is
Yes.
something that I just gotta share. I'm overwhelming with, or it could just be one or two experiences from behind the computer screen. We don't
Yeah.
know what it looks like, and we don't
No.
know
The struggle.
exactly if a person has it all together. So your
Yeah.
goals, when
Mhm.
you write them down, they become real. You are
Yes.
giving some validity to the
Right.
information. It's important enough for you to write down, to create a
Yeah.
plan and small
Yes.
steps to get there.
Pivot.
It's
Pivot
all
too.
yes,
You
yes.
got to pivot too.
And back to my favorite saying, it doesn't happen overnight. What do they say?
No.
Rome was not built in a day. So
Yeah.
it's gonna take a little while. But some people are like, well, I don't even know where to start. I have so much in my head. I don't know how to write down, or I don't know how to make a goal.
Yeah.
Write that down. Write that
Yeah.
down. Today, I don't know where to start. I'm
Today
writing
I
it
was
down.
blank.
So Yeah, yeah. So
And
the
that's
first
okay.
thing to do is create a starting point, or ask somebody. Say, I don't know how to do this, so I'm going to ask three people who've obtained that level or who've done this.
Hmm.
How did they get there?
One of
Or
the
I'm going to
things that
go
what,
to somebody's YouTube channel and figure out
yeah,
this is for beginners. How did they start journaling?
yeah. Well, let's
YouTube
give them some tools
University
right
is
now.
amazing. Yeah,
One of the tools that I can give right now, if someone doesn't know where to start, what I would say is be one with yourself for a second. Just, just breathe.
yeah,
Get out a journal and write it down and say, I'm so grateful and thankful. You know, I'm so grateful and thankful for this. And start writing down things that you're so happy and grateful for. And even if it's two things, even if it's one thing, it may be 10 things, that's okay. The next step, right, would be how do I move forward in my goals? Okay.
right.
What do I want to do? What is my passion?
Mm-hmm.
And it may be that it's not about let's do something on the outside. It may be that we're working on the inside because self
Working on
awareness
the
is talking about the
inside.
inside. So what things do I don't like about myself? Oh, Crystal's too loud, right?
No.
Crystal is this, right? Crystal is that. I'm too authentic. Oh, I'm too
Kim is
country.
still working
Yeah,
on her 0 to 100 real quick.
yeah. Just yeah, you're right, Crystal. You see, and I'm gonna tell y'all something. This is the realness, okay? I used to go from 0 to 100 and I worked on myself, and that was personal development. And I was like, well, what are the things that are triggering me? And so I write down trigger points, and those are the things that I had to work through. But you had to be real with yourself. What are your trigger
Absolutely.
points? And you mean I didn't like what I was writing about myself, and when I realized the things that were triggering me, I realized,
Hmm.
those are unhealthy. Those are unhealthy habits. So let me work on those. So I would say get that journal out. I would say do that 10-minute breathing, exercise, or maybe 2-minute breathing exercise. Breathe in,
Hmm.
because you may not like the things that's gonna come out. Another thing
Absolutely.
I would say is start meditating. Right. Kim talked about Googling things, YouTubing, also go to other people's social media accounts to look at what they're doing to personal development. I would say get some books and think about the
Hmm.
areas and keep it. And sometimes it's okay to keep things to yourself. Everybody doesn't need to know what you're inside, but those inside secrets, and that's okay to harness those things there for a second, right? As long as they're not, causing harm, right? But
Absolutely.
obviously, if they're causing harm, you want to seek therapy, get counseling, things like that. I always
Yeah.
recommend that. And a therapist is good to talk to as well, or whatever you need to do to go forward in that clinical, I would say, doctor situation.
I
But
want to peel back one of those little layers where you start talking about triggers. That is
yes,
one of the most important parts of being self-aware, is because I found out when I started challenging myself to figure out what set me off or what made
yeah,
me react a certain way. I had no idea what my triggers were. But when I
yes,
took the time to start realizing, like, and then I was like, oh, the way this person approaches a question, or the way
yeah,
this person approaches, or the way they answer, or their approach, or their tone, those
yeah.
things were triggering. In
Okay.
managing people, I started having to meet people where they were. And being
Yes.
able to do that allowed me practice at dealing with my triggers. And
A
I
lot
said,
of
okay,
work,
you
isn't
know
it?
what?
A lot of
Yes,
work.
last
Yes.
time you reacted this way, let's try it
Okay.
this way. Or
Yeah.
let's try it another way this time. Or
So
last time
you know
someone
when it
got
comes
really
to
loud with
awareness.
you, you decided to get really loud back.
Yeah.
Let's try to stay calm and see how it works. And then I start figuring out that once I identified what those triggers were,
Yeah.
controlling them became
Yeah.
so much more, efficient. And it's the things that used to bother me don't bother me anymore.
So let
So,
me
and
ask you
it's
something. Hold on a
go
second.
ahead.
Let me ask you something, because what if you don't know that you're doing it? And this is a conversation that me and you had in the past, because I've been in
Mhm.
management and I have that New York sound. I have a very aggressive voice, and I'm like boom, 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 boom. So when I'm
Mhm.
in management, I'm like, okay, boom, boom. My expectations is to get things done. My expectations is boom, 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 boom. I automatically assume you got it together unless you tell me otherwise. What if you don't know that you're doing something wrong? And part of the reason why I'm saying it is because I'm living in my own truth.
Yeah.
That I had to learn that, wait a minute, you have to meet people where they are. I don't assume just because you got the position that you can do it, right? Instead of teaching and
Mhm.
coaching them that way, right? And so I had to change my
Right.
perception. I didn't realize that I was doing that. right?
Well, yeah, and usually, you can
I
tell
mean,
from the
fixed now.
outcome. Yeah,
Yeah,
you can tell
yeah,
from the outcome. Usually, when you're not getting the outcome that you want in dealing with people or dealing
yep,
with situations, then you start saying, "What is it that either I'm doing wrong? Is it my
yep,
approach? Is it my attitude? Is it that I
yes,
don't know enough information about the subject in which I'm trying?" So it's like becoming self-aware has to do with an all-around method. You start
yes,
paying attention to outcomes because you when we are managers of people, or
yep,
when we're in situations with people, we have a desired outcome. For you, that
absolutely,
desired outcome was get the job done. I hired you. You
absolutely,
say you have these skills, get the job done. But when the job
absolutely,
still wasn't getting done, then you found out, is it a communication breakdown? Is
yep,
it that they don't understand or they don't respond to the way I'm delivering information? Awareness starts to happen when your results are not aligning with the goals that
yes,
you've laid out. And
yes.
so I started having to
Gotta
learn when I was
gotta
not
pivot.
getting the desired outcome. For example, in sales, on the real estate side, you deal with people from all walks of life,
Yeah,
from all people are selling their houses for all reasons. But as an agent, you have to walk into them and become their agent and
right,
sell
right,
yourself. So if I'm walking out of more appointments with no clients, nobody has signed for Kim to be their agent. Kim,
exactly.
something
You
is
gotta
wrong
pivot.
here.
Something's
What are
wrong.
you doing? You've approached 10 to 20 people who wanted to have an appointment with you, who wanted to
Yes,
interview you to be their
yes,
agent, but you only got one appointment. And maybe their
right.
appointment is either just like you or they're the opposite of you. So now I'm like, okay, the people are not identifying with me and I'm not
Yeah,
identifying with them. What is wrong? My desired outcome is to have more appointments
yes,
accepted, contracts signed
right.
than I do now. So I knew something have to change. So
Yeah, exactly.
if you're not aware, but you're not getting the desired outcome that
Mhm.
you're after, then at some point you have to start reevaluating your process,
Yourself.
the
Yep.
things that go into the process. How are you approaching the process
Your
yourself from all
resources.
that's the man in the mirror talk at that point.
Yep.
Like, okay, I need to sit down and have a heart to heart with myself. What is not happening here? What am I not
Yeah.
doing? So I would
Mhm.
say, for a person who doesn't know, look at your outcome, look at your
Mhm.
surroundings, and then look
Yes.
at how it makes you feel. I know when I don't get things aligned and done and completed, and I'm not drawing a line through that thing's to
Exactly.
do list, I don't
Yeah.
feel as productive, like something is missing. But it's
Right.
because I'm aware of what my goals are. I've written them
Yes.
down somewhere. Well, not somewhere, they're
Yeah,
everywhere.
yeah. But it's a
I
but you're
look,
gonna have shortcomings though, and let's just keep it
yeah,
real here. You know, a
absolutely.
whole situation is not gonna be perfect. You're gonna have shortcomings, but it's important to be resilient.
Yes,
Resilience is what it is. It's like, okay, the day one, I went out, got tried to get some whatever. In your situation, it's sales and it's real estate. So day one, I went out, tried to get it, didn't work. So you go out day two, you push harder. Day three, okay, making you have to pivot. Okay, well, was it my interaction? Was it my clothes? Was it maybe I didn't offer enough resources? Day four, you checkmate. You go back to the drawing board. So it's being resilient too, and it's also okay. Well, maybe I have to get up earlier to memorize some more stuff. Maybe I got to rehearse some
absolutely.
things in the I don't know, in the mirror. Maybe I need to call my mentor and have that conversation with them. And talk to them about. Sometimes you got to do that. I would call it that playbook where you go
Yes,
backwards, right? And you
a-
say, okay, I'm talking to
absolutely.
Kim. Kim's my mentor, right? And I'm talking to Kim. This is the steps that I took. This is how I communicated. This is what I look like. Sometimes you got to roll that deck back and reset that playbook to understand where
Yes.
you went wrong. That's something
Hmm.
too.
I
But
think
we're running
also
out of
putting,
time in this show, so let's recap what we talked about, Kim, as far as like self
because
awareness.
we could go
We only got
on to
30 minutes and it
tomorrow.
goes so fast. So let's recap real quick. We talked about self awareness, meditating. We talked about looking yourself in the mirror, talking to yourself,
Knowing what your
journaling. What else,
triggers
Kim?
are.
Know
Knowing
what
what
your
your
triggers
triggers
are.
are. Yeah. Don't be
Yes.
afraid to write your stuff down, making things
Yeah.
happen in that aspect and everything.
Okay.
I would just
Goal
say
setting.
goal setting, yes, and everything.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us to the Unleashed podcast. We have so much more episodes that we're going to talk about. We're going to do it at Hockley. And then we also got some other things going on the channel. So, again, thank you, Kim, for joining us this morning on the Unleashed podcast. Guys, check out our websites as well. We're going to have our websites underneath the podcast so you can get our information as well. So, again, thank you, everybody, for joining the Unleashed podcast. Kim, you want to say anything before we close out?
I just want to say thank you guys. Congratulations on taking the first step to a new beautiful you. Self
Yes.
awareness is
Yes.
just the tip of the iceberg, and we're going to have so much more information coming for you guys over and over and over. We're looking forward to getting to know you as you are getting to know us. So, if
Yeah.
you absolutely love it, stay
Yes.
tuned and share with everybody you know.
Yes. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and pass it on. So, everybody have a beautiful day. Talk to you later. And we're out.
All right.